Hi guys, today we're going to talk about making your own power outage kit, so stick around. Thanks for sticking around, guys. If this is your first time joining me, welcome to Aeetos Outdoors. My name is David, and this channel is all about my journey into the outdoors, whether it's hiking, backpacking, camping, and some of the fringe subjects around that, like preparedness and making sure you have everything you need should there be an emergency. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then please consider clicking the subscribe button down here and clicking the bell icon to turn on notifications. That way you'll get notified when I release a new video. And right now, I'm a little bit sporadic in releasing my content. I want to get back to weekly or every 2 weeks, but right now it's a little bit up in the air. Right, with that all out of the way, let's get into the meat of this video, creating your own power outage kit. So firstly, a tiny little bit about power outages, and this is going to be subjective very much for where you are. So I'm on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Our power lines, I believe, come to this area overland, so pylons and lines like that. And all it takes is a tree falling on the lines or heavy snow or maybe a road traffic accident to knock the lines out, and we may have power or we may have no power, hence the need for a power outage kit. Now, the longest power outage I've ever experienced here was from a Thursday morning to a Saturday evening. So sort of 3 days, 2 nights and 3 days. And we are very lucky. The climate that we're in here is quite temperate. Certainly, if it happened, certainly a long power outage like that, if it happened in the winter, it's going to impact a little bit more. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the power outage kit that I'm going to tell you about is for the area that I'm in. You will have a degree of customization that you want to put into your kit for the area you're in and the, say, temperatures and things like that. Right. So customize your kit to make it fit for where you are and where you live and things like that. So the first thing most people reach for, probably when the power goes out, is some kind of illumination. And that could be a headlamp, that could be a flashlight, you could rock it old school and light some candles. But what I am trying to say is you need something so you can see what's happening when the power is out. I have a few pieces of kit that I have on hand that I take from my backpacking kit. So you can repurpose gear that you may have lying around for other things that you can use should the power go out. So most importantly is have some kind of illumination and keep it in a consistent place. I have a small flashlight on my keys, which are normally in my pocket or on my bedside table, so I know where they are. And then I have a headlamp, I have a lantern, and any gear that I talk about right now, I'm going to link down below, so you can click the links down below to see any gear that I mention. And just a heads up, they are affiliate links, so if you do go on to buy anything from Amazon, then I might get a little kickback, which will help me in turn fund more gear for this for my channel. So keep your illumination, keep your flashlights and things somewhere nearby so you know, basically keep them in the same place, keep them in a consistent place so you can get them should the power go out. It's fine if the power goes out during the day and you have natural light, but what if you wake up in the middle of the night and there's no power and it is dark? So keep them somewhere to hand. Things like flashlights, headlamps, candles all work great. Just be cautious with candles. They can be a bit of a fire risk if they're left unattended. Don't leave them burning overnight. Lanterns, you're going to be a little safer, certainly if they're oil lanterns, you know, the kind of old school type of lanterns. But generally, I would say you want to conserve the power in these items, so only use them when you need them. So that is illumination. One other thing to mention is just having some spare batteries for things like this. So if you have a headlamp, have some spare batteries. If you have a USB charged flashlights and things, then maybe have a power bank, and I will talk about that in a little bit. But basically, you need light to be able to see what you're doing, so have some forms of light, and I will link some that I have down below. Okay, next up is electronics. So I just mentioned the power bank, so having a power bank is great to charge your devices, whether it be flashlights, etc., or maybe your phone, which I'm assuming most people would have in their pocket, and of course can double as a flashlight, but you may want to try and conserve the power of your phone so you can use it for other things that may not be functioning right now. So we're going to talk about phones, I guess, in a little bit. So having a power bank is a great idea. You should always keep it charged, and if you know that there's going to be a power outage, for example, you know there's a windstorm coming in, or you know heavy snow is predicted, then it is a good idea to pre-charge all of your electronics. So charge up your flashlights, charge everything up, make sure you've got fresh batteries, as I said, charge everything up, get it ready just in case. It's better to have a charged flashlight and a charged power bank than having a discharged flashlight that you charge from the power bank that instantly kills the power bank, and then you're running on fumes as such. So with your electronics, try to pre-charge everything or keep everything charged and check on it every so often. Another little tip, another electronic item to have with you is a hand crank radio. And some of the items on this list I've taken from the BC Hydro website, and this is what they suggest. The hand crank radio, however, for where we are in on the West Coast, when the power goes out, our local radio station goes out, so we don't really get much news from them. However, you could maybe use it to get radio signals from further afield. So it's a good way if there are, worst case scenario. Let's say the world has gone to shit. There may be some emergency broadcasts that you might pick up on a radio, or you may just be able to pick up your local news station letting you know what the power company is doing. So having a hand crank radio is a great, if slightly old school, way of staying in touch with what's happening. Now, I mentioned cell phones, and right now we kind of use them for everything. So you have your cell phone, the power goes out, you've got a flashlight, you've got a communication device, you have ways of checking to see what's going to happen. If the power goes out and maybe it knocks out the cell towers where you are, you're not going to be able to communicate with people, and you may not be able to access the internet if you're not in an area that has multiple cell towers or even good signal. So bear that in mind. Don't become completely reliant on your cell phone, because if you are, you may run out of, you may run out of power, but some of the functions that you take for granted may not be working. So a cell phone can be great in a pinch, but bear in mind that some things may not function. So that's lighting and electronics. Other things that you may want to have to hand, certainly if this is going to be a long power outage and you are at home, you will have these. So you will have access to warm clothes. You may have access to more bedding. Think a lot of houses are heated electronically. Once the power's out, you've got no heating. So staying warm it may be something that you need to do. So just be cautious of keeping windows open and things, and maybe chuck an extra blanket on the bed or something, just if it does get cold at night. Of course, you can always sleep in extra layers, and that's something that I find that, my camping gear comes in handy. I can bust out a sleeping bag for an extra layer, or I can put on my base layers that I have, and I will link to my base layer video up here if you are curious about those. But if you're in home, take advantage of what you have in your house to be able to keep warm while the power's out. So, as I said, extra bedding, things like that. If you're with a family and you have small kids and something, it can be worth making just one room as the main room. That way you can kind of make sure everything's nice and warm. You can almost make it like a kind of camp at home vibe. But by having one room, the heat that you let off naturally will go to heat that room, instead of, mum and dad are in one room, kids are in another. Try to all stay together to conserve warmth. And that's maybe necessary if the power outage is going to go for a long time or you're in a particularly cold area. I suppose one other thing to mention, if you're in a particularly hot area, you may not have your air conditioning. So in that case, you may want to open windows. You may want to, dress appropriately. As I said, customize this to the region that you're in and some of the individual needs that you may have. Some things that you may need to sort of get life almost as normal, carrying on as normal. Maybe you have an electric cooker, your kettle is electric, so these things will potentially, well, they're not going to be working if there's no power. Having a house with a propane stove is great. You may have to light it manually, so having a lighter to hand, you should put that into your kit, and obviously that's going to help you light your candles if you have those. But having even your backpacking, if you backpack, you may have a backpacking stove, or you may have a camp stove. These are things that you can use to boil water for teas and coffees or hot chocolates and things, or even boil water and cook food in. Just make sure that if you do have a camp stove, you are cautious of carbon monoxide, so either use it in a well-ventilated area, use it outside. For all of anyone that's got a barbecue or an outdoor grill, that's going to be great. Just make sure that your propane's topped up and that it's all ready to use there. But camp stove, backpacking stoves, using your backpacking kit, it can be a great help for your, if the power does go out. So think of what you have in your backpacking kit that you can use if the power goes out. Things like I said, headlamps, stoves, a fire lighting kit, all of that sort of thing. Now, some other little tips for if the power is going out or has gone out. Eat any perishable foods first. So stuff that's most likely to be affected by there being no power, which maybe means no refrigeration. Use those things first. If you have things in your freezer, they will stay cold for longer. What you want to do, and this applies to your fridge as well, is you want to reduce the usage of them. So try not to constantly be opening the door, closing the door. That's going to let a lot of the cool air out, and that is going to warm up things in there quicker. If you're able, maybe you can go to the gas station and buy some bags of ice. You can chuck them in to keep things cool. Just be cautious of, maybe they'll leak and things. So make sure that you've not got anything that you don't want to get wet nearby them. So fridge and freezer, just be cautious of it. Keep it closed as much as you can. You can wrap them in blankets and things to keep them extra cool, depending on how long this is going to go, of course. Another thing that you can do is having some basic supplies on hand, so canned goods. You may want to have water on hand as well if your water stops functioning for any reason, or if the water treatment plant stops functioning. So have some water on hand. Generally speaking, a gallon of water a day is what's recommended, and you can buy as much as it's plastic. You can buy big plastic cartons and containers from the grocery store, so you can have those on hand, just in case. So having a basic supply of water and food, most places recommend for 72 hours. So you're going to want 3 gallons of water per person per day. And food, you want your basic foods, things like canned soup, stuff like that, or even your backpacking ready meals, the freezer dried, pour in boiling water. They can be great. They're super easy. Crack them open, boil some water on your stove, pour it in, you're good, you're fed. And generally speaking, they're relatively high calories, so that'll keep you going too. Now, the last thing I will say is maybe have some entertainment on hand. So I mentioned your cell phone earlier. So if you know the power's going to go out, maybe download a couple of movies to have on your phone, or download some books that you enjoy reading. But bear in mind that phone could only last for a certain amount of time if the power is out. For a long, extended period of time, once the phone battery dies and you recharge it from your power bank, you've got more time. Then the power bank dies, so you're going to have less time. So be aware of that. Don't be completely reliant on your phone. Have some books to hand. Have some board games. Have other things that you can keep yourself entertained with. If you've got kids, then you're going to want to have some activities and things for them to do. Thankfully, I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about that. I just have to worry about me right now. So having books on hand, if the power's going to go out for me, I'm going to make sure my laptop's charged up. I've got some movies and things on there. I've got, as I said, plenty of books on hand, board games. If people were, if I was in a house with more people, we could play board games around a lantern or something. So that is a slightly disjointed what you should have in your power outage kit, but just a quick summary for everyone. So having lighting is necessary. So I'll link the video that I did to my lighting in the backcountry guide. I'll link that up here. so you can watch that if you like, and I'll also have links below in the comments. But have lighting, so flashlights, headlamps, lanterns, things like that, candles, things like that. Just be cautious with your candles. After that, you're going to want to have power to supply to these. So having power banks that are charged, having spare batteries, that is a great idea. And if you know the power is going to go out, or you expect the power is going to go out, make sure you buy in some extra or keep your power bank charged or top everything up. Have warm clothing to hand, which if you're at home, you probably will do. You know, have maybe extra bedding, chuck a sleeping bag or an extra blanket or whatever on the bed to stay warm. Close windows and doors. If you're with a family, try and keep to one room and make that the central hub to keep that warm as well. Although if you are in hot areas, you know, maybe you want to keep cool, so crack your windows, wear your shorts, you know, go for a swim, whatever. Keep your fridge freezers closed, limit their use as much as possible to prolong the shelf life of items that are in there, and eat your perishable goods first. So if something's going to go bad because of lack of refrigeration, use that first. Having a little storage area full of canned goods, water, backpacking meals, things like that is a great idea. Noodle packets, things, you know, you can have some dry goods that are easy to prepare in a limited situation like this. So have a little backup storage. And lastly, have some entertainment so that if the power is out for a long time, you can stay active, you can stay interested, you won't be bored, you won't just be sitting there going, oh, when's the power going to come back on? So some entertainment, books, download some movies on your phone or whatever, but of course you need everything charged up. So that is it for my video. I hope you have enjoyed this. As I said, I'll have links to some items that I've mentioned down below, and you can click up the top there'll be some video links for other videos that may fit with this purpose. That's it for today, everyone. I hope you've had fun. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.